Good gaming afternoon, gamers, guys, girls, transgenders, puppies, cats, kittens. Today we got the SEKIRO Shadow Dies Twice review. I am going to make this short and sweet. There's not a whole lot that I have problems with this game. There are a few nitpicks here and there, so let's get into it. Now to start off, I've played this game on my, fifth playthrough now. I've enjoyed every second of it, mostly. It's a very hard challenge. There's lots of bosses to fight. Mechanics are very well put together. Now, saying that, there is some problems with the stealth mechanics. It seems like certain enemies can see you through walls. The backstab death blow doesn't seem to quite work unless you're really up on them. In this game, the rule is parry or die. You can probably get through your first run just blocking, dodging, getting through it. But if you don't learn how to deflect, you will lose. You will die over and over and over until your thumbs cramp or you quit the game. I've had many people ask me to share play bosses and things like that. It just, especially with a little bit of lag, it makes the game even harder. The loot system in this game, for loot collectors out there like myself who just love collecting things, this game's not going to do it for you. You can collect a lot of materials to upgrade your prosthetic arm. You'll get a lot of prosthetic tools and a few ninjutsus, 3. And most of the ninjutsus, my biggest gripe in the game is probably the ninjutsus. The ninjutsus only work during a backstab death blow. So any boss, it's not worth it. Most bosses that you can get a death blow on aren't going to allow you to actually activate ninjutsu, or even if it did, it wouldn't actually help you because, let's say, blood smoke. You're going to want to blind enemies after you use it, after you kill somebody. Not going to work on a boss. There's nothing to blind. It's got an extension on your sword, adds energy to it, lengthening the attack of it. That's cool. You can get an enemy before you get to a boss if you can get to the boss fast enough after activating it, get a few hits in. But again, not very valuable, or not a very good tool in a boss fight. The puppeteer, I have yet to try this, but I did have an idea that maybe you could puppeteer an enemy and then walk into a boss fight and use the enemy as help, but I would just assume that little enemy would just get one hit anyway. Majority of the bosses that have any enemies nearby them just die immediately. As you progress through the game, you'll meet various NPCs. Each one has a different quest line. They'll add items and specific places to go or things for you to do, even affecting the outcome of the ending of the game. Now this allows for multiple playthroughs, but like I said, since there's a lack of loot, multiple playthroughs is really just you trying to get the trophies and beat all the bosses. Maybe see all the endings that, more or less most people would YouTube instead of trying to play this game so many times. You can do the little save your file and go back and play it, but is that really beating the game? To me personally, it's not. The challenge really comes in the boss fights. During the whole game, as you progress and run into the random enemies, you can sneak and death kill them, clear them out, get your skill points up, but then the boss fights come. Each boss fight has its own little gimmick. Most of them, a Shinobi prosthetic tool would be what's going to help you most. But some of them, if you don't learn the boss's combo moves, you're basically screwed the entire fight. I've seen people get stuck for days on bosses. I myself, the Owl and Ishin Sword Saint, took me quite a while to actually figure out their combos. After each boss fight, you usually earn a prayer bead or a memory which allows you to upgrade your attack power. All of this is a must. You're going to need these in your new game pluses, so don't forget to actually use them. I also suggest searching every nook and cranny for every prayer bead you can find, any Jutsu statue, and every item, because everything comes in handy during the entire game. The only thing that I really felt that other people actually ended up using a lot that I've seen is the Shinobi Shuriken. Pretty much mid to late game, I stopped using it, even at full upgrade. There was no reason to. I mean, sure, you can stop things from doing their attacks, but again, if you don't deflect, you're not going to progress. In this game, there's a vitality gauge and a posture gauge. Once you get past your first game, you're no longer worrying about vitality majority of the more of the time. You're going to be deflecting and blocking to try to attack their posture gauge and break their stance, enabling you to commit a death blow, which takes an entire life bar out if you do it right. This is your opportunity to take the boss out. Now, some bosses have more than 1, 2, even 3 to 4 phases. This is what's the most fun that I've gotten in any game in the past 5 years. The only problems I have is I didn't feel like I was rewarded enough. A prayer bead and an attack power increase is great, but there's no costumes, there's no extra kinds of weapons besides what attaches to your Shinobi prosthetic tool. There's only one other sword, and it's not like you can dual sword. It's more of a combat style. Like you can use the sword to swing a couple times at undead foes, or just to do a little bit more damage. It's not actually intertwined with what you're fighting or what your style is. There are a few martial arts styles you can learn, but I haven't really found them helpful. It just seems, to me, the game seems bare minimum of what it could be. Like there's so much they could have done more. There's no double jumping. The hopping up the wall is kind of awkward. Shimmying across the ledge with the sword in your hand doesn't seem right to me. When you start off, the sword is on your hip. That's kind of a ninja gripe I have when they put the sword on the hip, because if you're climbing and you're crawling and you're doing all this stuff, it's awkward to have that on your hip. But regardless, you do feel like a ninja. It is very sneaky, but without that double jump front flip, or at least a high enough jump to allow a front flip besides just jumping off your enemy's head, you just don't feel that mobility of like a Tenchu game or a Shinobi game. There's no ninja masks, there's no all black outfit. They could have even, to me, as you died or as you progressed through the game, your costume would deteriorate, revealing what's underneath, so you can actually see what's going on underneath this brown hobo trench coat. You more or less look the same as from the beginning of the game to the end of the game, with minor changes in your prosthetic tool and the added sword to your back after you get it, but without actually being able to draw both swords at the same time. It feels useless to me. But just having those little bit of gripes almost kind of really hurt me after my 4th playthrough. But then I realized the fun in this game is not about collecting loot. It's not about, searching for the ultimate costume. It's the challenge in beating every boss. And over the years of my gaming, I've kind of forgotten that after all the, the Fortnites, the Apexes, the Anthems, the Mass Effect Andromeda Downfall, all these games that were supposed to be good that just, phased out. This will always stay in my collection. I can honestly say that I will keep this game, and I hope they add DLC. I'll be very excited to play DLC for it. Maybe some costumes and some more weapons, or even skins. Just skins I would be happy for at this point. Or another open little area to go to would be nice. SEKIRO has a very strong start off. You feel very motivated to get to where you're going and meet Kuru and fight the first boss. But then as the game started to progressing, I realized more or less it's just fetch quests. Go here, grab this item, come back, fight this boss. Go over here, grab that item, or fight the boss before that item, and then go back and give it to this guy to fight another boss. That's fine for what the kind of game it is, but it doesn't keep the player driven to keep going. It's hard to get attached to the characters when there's nothing you're really talking about besides the mission itself. There are a few conversations you can have in between if you eavesdrop on somebody from behind this wall, or talk to this person at this certain place and then rest at the idol. They make it kind of complicated to get to learn anything, and you can easily skip multiple endings and conversations without even realizing that you did. That to me seems kind of bad. You should allow the player to know what's going on and not make it so cryptic. I get it, like you're supposed to explore and see and everything, but how am I supposed to know there's some old lady almost laid down dying in a broke down building on a 2nd floor of a roof of a house that I could see from the distance? All in all, SEKIRO is an awesome game, and I would recommend it to anybody's gaming library, especially if you love a challenge or are fans of the whole Dark Souls series. Myself, I give this game an 8 out of 10. With the lack of unlockables, and the game is actually kind of short once you actually know what you're doing. It's almost there, but not quite.